much. Well, thank you. Carina Truyts, it's really nice to meet you. I really appreciate your time and willing to talk to me. Do you have any questions before we start the interview?
No, I'm ready.
Okay, great. To start off, can you tell me a bit about yourself and your work?
Myself and my team are specialist investigators into serious violent, serious economic crimes. We do have a unit that deals with animal cruelty. It's the anti-animal cruelty unit. And we do get involved with any animal situation that has that is in imminent danger. So in other words, if we identify anything that goes wrong in the animal world, we will step in and make that difference. We've been doing this for about 40 years. We've been concentrating on serious violence, serious economic, and serious animal crime cases for the last 20 years specifically. And we've dealt with quite a few. And as everybody knows, crime has escalated in the world in the hundreds of percentages, and especially during this time of the year, between October, November, and December in South Africa, it escalates with 200 to 300%.
So have you worked in Kimberley before, or are you based in, I see your address is Pretoria?
We are based in Pretoria, but we work nationally and internationally. So our main offices aren't at one place anymore due to COVID. It's all over the place. So we've got several offices all over the country, but the main conglomerate of things happening is Pretoria and Johannesburg.
And your expertise and your experience in dealing with animal-related issues, where does that come from, or what's the background in that?
Well, it is experience. I've been an animal lover since a child, immensely. So I've always had animals. I've always bred with animals. I stay on a farm. I've always involved myself with any family, with any animal issue, me and my family. So anything to do with animals, I'm always involved. I always watch the documentary series. I've got a heart for animals. I love animals. I find that there's very few people that would stand up and really, really defend animals to the extent that we do. We would absolutely go the extra mile. We'll take our clothes off to defend animals because there's nobody else that can. The disadvantage that the animals have is that they cannot speak. They cannot appoint a lawyer or an investigator, and they cannot hire or attain bodyguards or protection. So we feel that the animals are at a total loss if they are not looked after and properly cared for. And it's also, to me, a biblical principle. It's very clearly said by God that created us and nature, that we are responsible for nature, and that it's a command, it's not a request, that we should take care of nature to the best of our abilities and our knowledge. So this is something very, very dear to my heart. The chink in my armor is that I myself, when there's an animal situation, will appoint a team to handle it, because it's the one thing that really upsets me in such a way that it affects my decision making. So when the Flamingo project came up, I was furious, and I threw all the toys out of the cot and I went wild. And fortunately, it was extremely supported and accepted, and even taken in by those that I confronted, and it went absolutely successful. But that's actually not the case. So you need to, as a specialist investigator, leave emotions aside, or try, and that's where I have a problem with animal cases. I can handle any rape case, a farm murder case, worst cases, and it would be unemotional because we're used to it. We cut out for this, and this is what we do as specialist investigators. But when it comes to animals, I cannot be in the presence of a rhino that has lost his horn, or an animal that was slaughtered or poached, or even any animal that's been tortured or left in a very bad situation. I try not to see it because it's difficult for me to unsee, and it has an effect on me. Therefore, I have a unit and a team that I appoint that is able to handle it. It does not mean that I do not get involved. I'm just trying to save my eyes and ears from what I see in those situations, because it has a lasting effect on me. And that's my chink in the armor. The rest of the cases, all the other serious violent and economic crime cases, 100% involved in everything, but the animal cruelty cases, I have a unit that handles it.
I see. So can you tell me about your first encounter with the flamingos of Kimberley? Did you see them before or engage them before the rescue at all? I don't know if you have any history with Kimberley.
We do investigations all over South Africa. So we've had cases before in Kimberley, but it was crime cases. So we know Kimberley. So when the Flamingo project started, was a call. Dr. Chris Kingsley, the deceased Dr. Chris Kingsley's wife, called me. That day I was actually busy jogging, and it was about midday. And she said that, listen, Mike, it's time that something needs to be done, because it's for many years now. And she's going to send me some photos of chicks burning to death due to very severe dry weather, windy situation in South Africa that regularly occurs. And it's always just left. It's a man-made dam, pans, and it's everything is man-made and orchestrated, and therefore she felt that obviously the responsibility lies with those who are involved, and they should have done something, prevented this, or have some rescue plan in place. Once I've seen the photos, it obviously, as I've just previously explained, it immediately affected me immensely. I created two teams, a Pretoria team and a Kimberley team. Fortunately, as I previously said, everybody was prepared to assist and help, and those teams all worked together, and I gave them instructions as to remove any live chick left. By then, the parents have left the chicks. I'll send you the complete project. You can use the photos. Some of them are horrific. And the whole team, the SPCA, everybody got involved and assisted, and we removed altogether about 2,334. That was the exact figure of the chicks we removed. And then we started removing eggs as well, because some of the eggs started hatching. Believe it or not, in the midst of that heat, it was a real dismal situation. It's very distraught. It was very, very shocking to see. I wasn't there. I wasn't there firsthand. I had some of my Pretoria team members there, but Linya Allen was the head of that team on their side, and I can tell you, she and her team and everybody involved created the miracle. Then we had an offer.
Can we just slow down, because I'm trying to understand, how did you make all those decisions? So you assembled a team, and then what was the mission at that time?
Well, I just made the decision. I felt that these animals, as I've had cases like this before, but much smaller.
Okay.
I just make a decision. When I see something, I'm known in South Africa as somebody that interferes. I'm the interferer. I don't sit back. If I see something, I act. So I just make calls. I'm extremely connected, well known, respected. So everybody knows who we are. We're very well known here, and we're extremely supported as well. So I had a lot of help. Everybody jumped in, because once those photos, and especially when it hit the newspapers, one person sent a message of mine to the newspaper, something in the line of where I gave a command to people, remove the little flamingos, and that sparked the whole media situation. The South African False Blood jumped on it, and it was headlines the first day, and the second on so many newspapers, and then it started spreading. Eventually, after the completion of this project, there was about 48 institutions, TV institutions and newspaper institutions that were involved and constantly reported on it. So that's how it works. And we immediately started. There was a mine that offered an aeroplane, and we started flying the chicks all over the place to institutions that we have vetted and evaluated that is willing and able to assist in the saving of the baby flamingos. Now, this has never happened before.
Your team in Pretoria, did they do all that research to know the places to send them to, or did you already have those networks? Because it all happened so fast, right? And I must say that I was in Kimberley at the time, and I went to the SPCA on one of those times to do the feeding. It all just seemed to happen so quickly. Like the next thing, there was a plane, there was this, they were moving. So did that, could you do it so fast because of your existing networks? Or was that your research team that decided where to do those things? How did you make it happen so quickly?
As I've said, I made 1 or 2 calls, and I started appointing people that I know is willing and able and that knows animals well. Chris Kingley's wife used to be the head of the flamingo project, the zoo in Pretoria. So she knows flamingos. I've appointed her, and once she started calling, and I made some couple of calls, there was a lot of vets, a lot of people that had an infrastructure that could assist, of which one was the mine. So it happened very quickly, yes, because it was imminent danger. One more day and they would have all been dead. As a matter of fact, I gave the instruction that all the chicks must be removed, and they were busy, I think, till about 10 o'clock that night, and not one chick was left behind. The next day they went and fetched the eggs. So they were already then kept in an enclosure, and within the next day, I think it was a matter of maybe at the utmost 2 days, 3 days, they were all flown all over the place. Afterwards, there was some kept at the Kimberley site. I think it was at the SPCA site. They secured a site there, and they started. Each one had to start from scratch. There was no existing infrastructure. This is new. This had never happened before. This is Guinness Book of Record stuff. And each institution, no matter how well known they were, no matter how well equipped they were, no matter what name and reputation they all had to do their own research and adapt and bring in an infrastructure to assist with these chicks that came in. Because now suddenly you have these 1 day to 3 day old chicks, and some of them a bit older, that needs to be fed. And you needed to know exactly what to give them. Otherwise, they would die. They're very vulnerable at that age. And you yourself, being part of the feeding frenzies, knows what this is about. So there was obviously a few that died. Well, when I say a few, half of them died. The project at the end was very successful because about 1,000 made it. And that is astronomical, because in nature itself, it is the information that is out there is that more or less 50% of them do survive. So it was a very successful project, but everything had to be done from the beginning.
And those 1,000 surviving flamingos, where are they? Sorry, I just put the transcript at the bottom. Those 1,000 flamingos, where are they now? Are they in all different institutions?
No, they've all been as promised since day one. I had very clear rules and regulations since day one. And I said that we don't like removing an animal, a wild animal, and then keep it for financial gain or sell it or do anything other with that animal, other than if it survives, to place it back and reintegrate it into its animal society where it came from. And that's what we did.
Okay.
So there's about 200, about 180 that were not able to go because of a lost eye, maybe a broken wing at a stage, a lost toe, skew beak. So there was, of the small ones, that was just, they survived, but they were just too much damaged. And then obviously human imprintation, because they were kept so long, was a big problem. So there's about 180 that is still in one of the facilities in Pretoria. There used to be a few still at the Pretoria Zoo, but I think they're all now at one institution. I know the gentleman very well. He's looking after them very well. It's still the plan to reintegrate all those if we can, but the last time we tried, they were already so settled in that they were starting making nests. I don't think it would be their first breeding time because they would need to be at least 3 to 4 years old. But I mean, they got so settled there that it would have been difficult. The other thing is why we didn't move that last odd 180 is because they are human imprinted. They don't know what a jackal is. They don't know what a predator is. And they do not need to defend themselves to mature or other flamingos. So they don't know any of this. And it would have been a consideration as not to send them at first, because in a bird's life, if the slightest thing is wrong in that bird, it is the one that will first die, either by being caught or in flight. So a lot of birds get killed in South Africa due to power lines. And a lot of birds get killed due to other foreign objects in the air, and also obviously due to nature changes. So if it's very dry at a stage and they're not ready to go or move, they can die due to exhaustion or temperature changes, suddenly very, very cold or suddenly very, very hot. So, but other than that, the flamingo is actually a very, very strong bird, but it doesn't want to be caught. I have my own flamingos, as I've showed you. You can use some of those footages, and I've got others as well. And if there's one thing a flamingo hates, is that you catch him. It's actually with any bird, but especially flamingos. And they can easily break a leg. And a flamingo with a broken leg is a lost cause. So we avoid any form of catching. But unfortunately, they need to be checked maybe once in 3 years. You need to do sexing at a very young age. We do the pinioning at a very young age. We do everything when the chick is a couple of days old in order to prevent that it ever has to be caught. Because if you catch a full-grown flamingo and you do all those exercises on him, it can put him in a spot that he never breeds or that he gets hurt.
Well, so what's the pinioning? Is that so they don't fly?
Yeah, the pinioning, I will explain to those who are watching. This is the wing in its totality. Yeah. So the wing will be from here all the way up to the top. They only cut that little piece off on one side of the wing of the bird. It doesn't mind if it's left or right. So it's actually a very, very small piece. And that piece is taken off so that the bird can't fly away. He can still fly a bit, but he cannot like an aeroplane up and go. And it's important that you do it because otherwise they will fly. A bird obviously in captivity will fly, especially just before breeding season and even after breeding season. And with flamingos kept as a breeding project, and you've seen the facility as we're giving it as closely as possible as it is in nature. They've got a big dam there. They've got all the mud they need. They aren't threatened by anything. There's not a lot of noise here. There's no noise here. So those are the things that affects flamingos' breeding and life cycle, is noise, threats, any form of intimidation by any other animals. I've got more than 150 cranes here, species of cranes. I've got 10 of the world's 17 species here, but they completely on the left-hand side. So they've got this whole area there to themselves. They're not bothered by anybody. And the caretaker is so involved with the flamingos that he's been accepted as one of them. So he's seen as a flamingo. So you have one person dealing with him, actually two. One person is not here, the other will step in. But those two people are loved by the flamingos. They are allowed in close to the nest. They are allowed constantly. And obviously, they are tame, but they do not, like you've seen when I walk to them, they go away.
Yeah.
A flamingo wants its space. It doesn't want people around it, and they always huddle in a group. You will not see a flamingo walking on his own. The moment a flamingo walks on his own, he's sick and there's a problem, and then you need to find out what's wrong.
I think I should just be clear. I wasn't planning to put this interview on any YouTube or any other place, but I will send you a copy of it as agreed. So, and also I just put the transcript on because it just makes it easier for me later, but I can put it off if it's distracting.
No, it doesn't.
But just so you know, I wasn't planning to put this anywhere, but I'll send you the video. If you want to use it, you're more than welcome.
This could be quite informing. The Flamingo Projects has made a very, very big difference. The information that we've sent out, a lot of people became flamingo crazy. It became a worldwide thing. A lot of people got so much information that they now enlightened about flamingos and even other birds. We haven't done one in a long time, so you're more than welcome.
Thank you so much. So you said that you've spoken about taking birds out of nature. So the reason why you took the flamingos, but it also, do you think that it was man-made causes that made the flamingos, those chicks, die? Or could that not also, because it was dry, how do you differentiate between when it's a man-made problem and a nature-made problem?
We've done a thorough investigation as specialist investigators as well as to why this has been happening for so many years.
Yeah.
So the people that would later go into all the projects, I think there was about 30 projects sent altogether, and newspaper articles will show that this situation at the Campus Dam has been coming for many, many years. And it's man-made. Especially to accommodate the flamingos because of the kind of water and algae that's available there and the mud. But if you create something for animals, then you need to upkeep it. I mean, I have 120 flamingos here. If I just stop taking care of them, they will all die. So I have to make sure that they are safe, and I need to do the upkeeping here, me and my team. It's the same that wasn't done. So the city council there, and then some of the nature enthusiasts and even qualified nature people all came together and decided this project years and years ago. But they neglected by keeping it intact. In other words, they did not make sure that the pump stations, there's 4 sewage pump stations that is supposed to keep the dam at least some form of water in so that the flamingos can identify where they can breed because they need to breed close to water. Those have all not been working for years. And up till now, they're not working. So we're now totally reliant on our gracious God for rain. Because if there's another drought season there again, it will have the same scenario. So the pumping stations, none of them, the sewage stations that pushes all the filtered water after it's been circulated. Yeah, it sends all that better water into the dam and the pans, and it keeps it at a level that the birds can survive. That's not happening at all. Secondly, there's a lot of poaching, and there's a lot of encroaching of settlements that's coming closer to the dam. That should have never been allowed. And then thirdly, all the experts and all the nature conservationists and the municipality and all the animal lovers, not that they jumped up and down, some of them in obviously being extremely upset about what's going on there, but the real in control people did not anticipate every year what do they do in order with a rescue project if there's an El Nino. So what am I saying there? Do you just say, well, it's God's nature and let's just leave them and burn to death whilst the public can see it and everybody can see it? No, you don't do that due to the fact that it's man-made. It's made there specifically to enhance Kimberley. It's made there specifically to to draw the public and visitors and overseas visitors. It is Kimberley's sign, its main sign is the flamingo. It's there for tourism, it's there for everybody's there's pleasure. That then says to me, then you make sure that you have a rescue project in place in order that the people does not see that. Because if you see these animals dying, these little flamingos dying, if you see it and you know of it and the newspaper sends photos and we send the information out, it has a very serious effect on the public. And a rescue project can, and we've proven it can be successful. It was never anticipated, was never done. There was also never a secondary enclosure arranged for these birds in case they do wanted to still breed during El Nino or a very dry season at a specific place where there will be definitely water. So the water issue has been the main problem. And then obviously there was a very serious drought, as I've said. There was very serious dry winds and scorching sun. So all these things played a serious role, which made the parents to leave. And they completely absconded and moved away from the chicks. So in my opinion, we did the right thing. We stepped in, initiated something, and that should be in place of any situation in the world, never mind South Africa, where you have animals in some form of enclosure, which is there due to tourism and for human pleasure. Let's take the Kruger National Park. If there's a serious drought, what do the conservationists do? They drive lucerne in. They drive in food for the animals, and they put out huge water buckets. That is interference. That is good interference. So to those, I had a guy saying to me, but you know what? Then we can just as well save all the wildebeeste in the Serengeti that gets slaughtered by the crocodiles in the Serengeti. I mean, that's an absurd and stupid statement because it's a total different scenario, and that is real nature where there's no human involvement other than if we see it on documentaries or if you go on a holiday and visit there. But this is specifically in South Africa, made for tourism, made for the South Africans and for everybody worldwide. Then you should interfere if nature has changed severely, which is due to human beings, by the way. So there's no excuse, and any animal anywhere that is in any form of the vicinity of people, people should always take care of those animals and protect them.
Yeah, thank you. What do you think these birds mean or have changed in meaning for Kimberley as a community as a result of this project, or even before this project? Do you think that the people of Kimberley, all of them, I guess, maybe different groups care differently, are concerned with these birds?
The awareness that this project has created is 99%. You might get a 1%, if it's that much, that would have something bad to say about it. I remember when we saved all these chicks, those who are not knowledgeable about the bird species or animals might make stupid statements and say, yeah, but you saved 2,134, but you only were able to, in the end, pull 1,000 through. I mean, that's a person that just doesn't have a knowledge about how this works and what it's all about. You can get another person that has something to say that doesn't even know the project, what it's about, how it started, like I've explained it here from the beginning. The problem that you have, it's a worldwide problem, but especially in South Africa, people like to comment on things without having the full context. People like to, on social media especially, just it's verbal diarrhea. They're digital junkies. They absolutely cannot wait to say something, but they say something on just a piece or a part of information that they've read somewhere, and they haven't seen the complete project, the complete information, and seen everything in its context. We have a saying here in South Africa that two South Africans have got 4 opinions and 5 churches. They just cannot stand together and agree on a thing. And their number one sport, and their number one time-consuming entertainment, a skinner in kakpraat. For the English people, it means they cannot, they just like to talk behind people's back a lot, and they talk a lot of shit. So unfortunately, that is the situation, but I must say that the South African public did not do that during the Flamingo project. They might do it with other situations where we involved, but not on the Flamingo project. The whole of South Africa, the whole of the world, from the USA, China, everywhere, they all jumped in. They all saw this as a brilliant project, as a successful project, and they all commented positively about it, and they all jumped in and assisted where they can. We eventually got enough finances in to cover all the costs. The biggest part of the project was here on my farm. I had to redo one of my houses completely because the little flamingos, we kept them for the first few days in that house. They completely soiled everything. A flamingo has a squirt of a shit. It squirts. So there was just shit everywhere on everybody. And we've got a lot of videos that are so cute and so interesting to watch. And they just completely took over. They took over the people's lives. There were people that hasn't slept for days. There were so many people here. We had 40 to 50 cars a day pulling in, volunteers. Initially, we thought toys would make a difference, woolly toys, but then we found out some of the little babies are dying, and then we found out that the baby flamingos were pulling some of the cotton and some of the stuff off the toys, and that suffocated them, so we changed that. So there was a hell of a learning process. And, every 3 hours in the beginning, they need to get food, and then the food needs to change, and the food must always be fresh. And we got special diets. We got so many people that sent so many emails, WhatsApps, SMSs, and information on social media, on platform that we just couldn't get to anything and everybody. And that's why we decided to send out our usual projects, which is a document that goes out that explains the daily situation of what has happened, where we are now, what do we need, who's who, what, where, when, and how. And those projects answered everybody, thanked everybody, and gave information to everybody that was involved. So the Kimberley people are 100% with us and behind us and supporting this. And there's an awareness now, the municipality. We did a whole TV program on it, on the Bolhuis series. I think it was Bolhuis series 2. And the municipality admitted, apologized, and said that they would change, but they didn't. Unfortunately, but this is the thing in South Africa, our government is corrupt. It knows how to deal with the confrontation. It just says sorry, and yes, we will, and then you move on, but it never happens. The apology never goes through to action, and we have dire situations in South Africa, unfortunately. It's collapsing slowly but certainly, and it's affecting our nature situation.
Yeah. Can I ask, going back to the massive response from the world, what do you think it is about flamingos or about the story that moved people so immensely and so obviously? Because, as you say, people are faced with 100 stories every day of projects or things that could need their help. What is it that you think about flamingos or about this project that moved them?
Well, you get a lot of birds, and it's very difficult to choose one. I can explain it like this. I once again, with my wife, watched the dog show, The Best in Show. The Best in Show is a movie made, and I think it's in 2000, of an dogs that are presented, which would be the most beautiful, the most cuddly, the most best breed, the best in everything, best in show. So there was about 3,000 or 4,000 dogs that were brought in, and eventually there was quite a few that the final judge had to choose from. It's really good to see. So at the end, a little funny terrier kind of thingy, I can't even remember its name, won. But when you look closely, it looks completely different to all the other dogs, and it just has that something that you can not put your finger on. And you would first say, yeah, but why didn't the Shih Tzu win, or why didn't the Greyhound win, or the Bloodhound? And then afterwards you would think to yourself, yes, actually that's the one. And that's the situation with the Flamingo. The Flamingo just has something that draws the attention, especially of kids. The kids got so involved in this project, schools, the kids, and then the parents got involved, and then older people. And the mere fact that it is a rescue project, and what we have done and how it was done, and all the videos that were sent of the free feeding, and the baby flamingos doing their dances, and the TV show that we did on it, and all the other TV shows that went out. You know, the media knows exactly what to show to pull the heartstrings of people. So there was a lot of media. Yeah, it was on every TV show that I can think of. And it showed the cuteness of this little birds. They're extremely cute also when they're small. And you must really be Mr. Ice not to fall for them. Because I was so in love with them. It as I've said, that's the chink in my armor when it comes to animal. I was obviously in tears. Me, my staff, my investigators, everybody. Eventually, when the project finished, when we sent out our final project, and when the birds started leaving and going back to the dam. So it's the mystery of extreme goodness, I would say.
I know. I've been thinking about it so much because the flamingos are really cute, but lambs are also really cute, and so many people love to eat them, and so how does it work?
Yeah, I think the kids has made the parents aware, have made the greater public aware, because every kid wanted a flamingo. And then obviously the involvement of people that came here, buses and
so school trips came to your property to see them.
They were physically here and they got involved. And because of the constant and extreme exposure, I think the same would have happened to little lambs if there were a farm that didn't look after their little lambs, and we went and fetched them and brought them up here. It would have created the same awareness. But because the flamingo is wild, it's a wild bird, international bird everywhere. There's 6 different species. It's a beautiful bird. It is very rare to other birds because of its beak and its the bending of its feet. And it's a very elegant bird. You get the idea. It's a classy bird. It's got a sound to it that you would say it's ping and not pong. It just stands out. Yeah. So, I mean, I'm looking at them now. They're in an extreme big group. There's no fights. There is no ugliness in relationships at all. There is no fighting. The male chooses a female. They slowly walk aside. They mate. They come back. There's no fighting amongst any of the. It is absolutely peaceful. However, they are noisy.
Okay. I was going to ask, what is it like to live with them? Okay.
I love they sound like geese. So you hear them constantly. But I immediately know if something is wrong outside, because there's a pitch and everybody talks together. These birds don't talk one at a time. So 120 flamingos talking at a time is quite a noise. But we're so used to it, we sleep through it. But immediately when there's a higher pitch or a higher raise in their sound, then I'm awake, then I know there's something bothering them.
Oh, wow.
They love rain. They stand in the direction of the rain. They love rain. They make their nests with mud. We bring in special mud, and they make it like a little volcano. And then on the top, they make a little indentation, and they put one egg. And these flamingos have been extremely successful. I've got more than 100 chicks in the last couple of years, more.
Wow.
And we only lost about maybe 12.
Yeah.
And that's due to catching. We don't lose a bird here easily due to sickness, but catching. And that's why we completely stopped a year ago, saying we don't catch these birds at all anymore. And if we need to move some of them, it's so perfectly planned, because just one wrong step and the leg breaks, the bird is gone. You cannot keep it alive. You have to euthanize it, unfortunately, but that's the real reality. That bird cannot survive with a broken leg, and you can try whatever you want. You cannot get that leg together. They've tried it before, it just doesn't work. So breeding season in South Africa would be anything from the middle of August till about March. And if one egg is bad, they will put another egg again. It's on the egg for about 30 days. And listen to this. These nests are maybe this far from each other. So it's like that. This would be the middle piece. There's no fighting. And when the babies are born, there's no such thing that the baby will get hurt or trampled or anything like that. Never had that here before. So there's about 50 of them that will all breed together. And they're very respectful. They stay away from each other's nests and so forth. But when the babies are about, I would say, 3 weeks old, they start a crash. So they go away from the nests. They stand one side, all as kids, different sizes, and that's where they wait for food. The parents come, the father and the mother, and they feed them there. They never go back to the nests again. So they leave the nest so that other can go on the nests and breed further.
So you think part of this way that they are is part of what makes them so appealing and so...
Exactly. Yeah, I love them. They are also an ornament on this farm. It's very, very beautiful to see them. And it's right in front of my office. And I every day admire them. There's not a day that I get used to anything in nature. I constantly have my eye on what's going on around me, and I'm always thankful, and I thank God out of the bottom of my heart for this nature that He has given us. He has blessed us so much. He that says there is no God is a fool. He should just open his eyes.
So, is there anything that you would do differently if you were to do it over?
Yes, I would have done it sooner. I would have done it 7 or 8 years or 9 years ago when it first started.
To prevent, and what would you have done then?
Exactly the same. I would not have changed anything on this project. I've had a lot of help. I've had extremely qualified people supporting me. I had the government supporting me. I've got municipalities that supported me. I've got different institutions dealing with this criteria in South Africa that supported. So I've made a lot of connections and friends, and we've created that absolute awareness that if an animal is in immediate danger, you should immediately act. I don't think the paperwork is in place yet, because in South Africa, there is a hell of a red tape that you have to follow protocol before you can move a wild animal. But I've made it obvious at that stage that if there's a felt fire on your neighbor's farm, you're not going to wait for protocol, get permission to enter his farm or anything. You're going to jump in and kill the fire in order to save the farmer and his property. It's the same with animals. Otherwise, it's cruelty. As I've said earlier on, we did a thorough investigation, and we would have at a stage brought criminal charges to the institutions. But because of their coming to this awareness and getting involved and eventually assisting, we have decided not to follow through that route. And by sending out the projects and saying it exactly as it is and showing it exactly as it is, I think that was punishment enough for everybody around Kimberley to open their eyes and make sure that they should be aware of what's going on and what's going to happen, and then take precautions.
So are you saying that this has happened in terms of thousands of chicks dying that shouldn't have died? This has happened a number of times before, or it happens every year?
No, this was I won't say it was a unique situation. It has happened before. Yeah. What I've explained properly previously is this. If you have created something for animals, you are supposed to check them out, do the upkeep, and if they're in imminent danger or in changes in anything, you need to have a rescue plan or a plan in place as to deal with it in order not to upset the public, those that knows of the flamingos, the tourism industry, etc., etc. You must remember, all flamingos setup is completely created for the public in Kimberley, for tourism. It's a business. It is there to enhance Kimberley, to put Kimberley on the map, and it's there for everybody in the world to see. Therefore, if there's imminent danger...
Flamingos were put in Kimberley. Sorry to interrupt. I thought, I mean, how long have they been there? I thought that they had just historically been a flock, and I haven't been able to find any more information on this. Maybe your investigating team knows. But were they drawn there and put there specifically for tourism in mind, or have they always been there? Because the people that I've spoken to were like, the flamingos have been there since they can remember. Do you know how long the flock has been there?
The flamingos have been at certain places all over South Africa for a long time. But due to poaching and due to high power lines and other forms of infrastructure, the figures have dwindled to such a point that they've become an endangered species. Therefore, at that stage, Kimberley has jumped in. Some of the mines, some of the nature conservationists, businessmen, etc., well-known people, extremely well-known, all got together and they created this project in order to draw the flamingos in, to give them a safe place and to give them especially a breeding ground, especially a breeding ground to the special food that is there in the dam and the mud that's available. Therefore, it is your responsibility. If you are, there's not a fence and they're not in captivity, but they're in a way fenced in and kept in a captive situation because they are there for the people's sake and obviously to bring the numbers up due to their dwindling numbers and that they're in danger. But then, therefore, must be involved constantly and be aware and save as much as you can. Otherwise, it defeats the purpose.
So as a security specialist, do you think that a fence would help or would have prevented or would change things?
Well, fences would have helped with the prevention of poaching. There's a lot of poaching there. They unfortunately do eat flamingos. They eat cranes. Due to poverty, due to ignorance, people in South Africa will eat anything from a tortoise, any animal. I had an informant this morning telling me that she saw a very big group of dogs led by some people, and they go illegal hunting. So there's extreme measures that people will do in order to eat. And the crime wave in South Africa is enormous due to poverty, due to ignorance, due to no visible policing, due to corruption, due to corrupt police, etc., etc. You can commit the crime and get away with it. And there's no such thing as punishment that fits the crime. So crime is lucrative in South Africa, and South Africa is a lucrative country to commit crime. Yeah, fencing would have helped with the poaching. They steal the eggs as well. But I must say, under all these circumstances, and even with our involvement, the Flamingo project has been extremely successful in any way because it made such an awareness on all flamingos worldwide especially in South Africa, on different places. So now there's more monitoring, there's more breeding sites. We've had flamingos sites from Mozambique, Namibia, Zambia, Zimbabwe, everywhere. They've been all over the place. And they're very clever. They will drop at all these little ponds, and they will test the food and the ground there, and then they will start as a group maybe breeding there. And this awareness has created the people, the farmers around, or the villages or people around to assist them and help them. So if that is being done, it will in any way bring the numbers up. And because of the awareness, there's more protection for these animals. But poaching is a big problem in South Africa. And as I've said, and I'm sorry to say to the public, they do eat flamingos and they do eat eggs.
Yeah, and as you say, I think I'm sure this is driven by poverty and hunger. And I'm sure COVID has probably made it worse. You know, there's so much starvation in our country. I think these are all the questions that I had. And thank you. You've given me so much to think about and such a rich response. But I wanted to know if there's anything that we haven't spoken about, or some interesting thing about the flamingos or the project or its future that you'd like to talk about. Maybe what you hope, you know, can happen for these flamingos. If you have any further thoughts.
I would like to make a few statements and warnings. One is we have made no money whatsoever out of the Flamingo project. We have created an NPO account, and of the other institutions has done the same. All the money was spent on the Flamingo project. As a matter of fact, there's a lot of money that we have put in ourselves because we've wanted to do that. We have offered our farm and our facilities, and I've offered all my staff. A lot of people have worked for free. A lot of people I paid because I wanted to pay them. I've carried all the costs. I've carried all the administration costs, cell phone costs, petrol, diesel. We had constant taxis here, and anything that needed to be paid, we paid. So there was no financial gain whatsoever, because you'll get the person that would say, yeah, but see, they're making merchandise of the project. Wasn't done. Secondly, we have not smuggled any flamingos out anywhere or sold. We have never ever sold or smuggled any flamingo out of the Flamingo project. Thirdly, we have DNA microchipped and data-based each death. So you've got 2,134. You will have data chips, DNA, and microchips available for those that are dead. Fourthly, those that were released, I think it's about 100 or 250 of them were microchipped and checked and monitored. It was a project that with the Flamingo project in order to monitor them. Where do they fly? How long do they stay? And are they alive? That project is still ongoing and is going good. And that tracking and that project has shown that the flamingos do go with a big flock. They do fly. They are alive. And they've been spotted at different places, which I mentioned here. Fifthly, warnings. I would warn the South African public as well as the international people to take care of their animals. That could mean your dog, your cat, and it could mean the birds in your garden or in your area, and you should teach your kids. We till today get kids that walk around with slings and just shoot birds, that tease cats or parrots, or take a frog and smash them with a hammer. We get kids that sometimes do the craziest things that's appalling. It's because the parents don't teach them. I've had that many times, and it is shocking. And if a child at a young age does that to an animal, that child will maybe eventually be involved in other forms of crime towards human beings and to animals. So teach your kids to respect the animal. You know, it's one thing.
Are you fine with eating animals?
I'll come to that. It's one thing if there's a mosquito on your arm and you hit it, or there's a fly on your food and you kill it. But it's a different thing if you tease your animals, or if you take wild animals or insects and you maim them and you hurt them, or you keep them in captivity. I have found many kids, they will catch a spider and keep it in an enclosure. At the end of it, the parents should teach their kids that any of this kind of behavior is extremely cruel, and the kids shouldn't be ignorant. They should be taught that an animal is a live entity. It's created by God and is there for a purpose and should be respected, because no animal will ever come to you, including a snake or a spider, deliberately biting you. That doesn't happen. Animals will never deliberately come and hurt you or harm you or make your life uncomfortable. The first, if we can call it a thought, would be to get away from you and not to be involved with you. So if the parents and everybody can just take a moment and not only respect but love and care our complete nature, from the creeping worm to the flamingo to the Alaskan bear, the lion, whatever. All animals treated equal with love and respect and care, which we have been placed in command by God to do so. This world will be a better place already. And then lastly, this is a warning to all poachers, those who are mature but are or even young and is involved with any form of animal cruelty, or anybody that is neglecting animals or committing crimes with animals, or smuggling animals, hurting animals, or doing anything wrong with animals that they shouldn't do. You better watch that I don't catch you, or that we don't catch you, or that I know of those who are standing with us don't catch you, or the authorities that stand with us, or governments that stand with us, because it will be a nightmare for you. We will take the hardest road with you. We will do the harshest things to you, and we will obviously incarcerate you if we can. But if incarceration doesn't work, we will definitely deal with you. I hate it when people are cruel towards animals. This does not mean that I don't feel the same about human beings, because I say these very same things about a child molester, a rapist, and any human being that is treating another human being in the ways here that I said, that a human being shouldn't treat an animal. As a matter of fact, you should treat a human being better than any animal and take better care of any human being. Concerning the eating of food and all that kind of stuff, I'm not going to give my opinion there because it might cause an extreme hoo-ha, but I would say this. I will not eat an owl. I will not eat a flamingo. I will not eat any endangered animal or species. I will eat after I've made an extremely informed decision, no matter what food it is.
Thank you. I really appreciate your words and your time and your passion. I think it's so contagious. And then maybe lastly, just to ask, I would really love to talk to some people in the Kimberley team. If you would be happy to introduce me or to pass on some contacts, I'd really love to talk to Linya or anyone from Kimberley that you can recommend, maybe so that I can get a more Kimberley specific focus.
Linya will be best. I would suggest that you contact only one or two. Otherwise, it would become too big and too much. We can always do another Zoom with a second interview if there's other things that pop up. My heart is this, and I'm doing this for the world, for the animals, for the flamingo, for all animals, and obviously in the same time for human beings. So we can always do a secondary interview. I do it with the greatest of pleasure. You're bothering me. But I would suggest that Linya is one, and I'll consider one or two others, maybe Brendan, which was the head of the facility up here, which started with the project. So I'll consider 1, 2, or 3 people maybe, which I will then speak to you.
Yeah.
And if you can just give me a call, and in a day or two's time, I'll give you those names and I'll arrange it with them.
Thank you. Okay, I'll call on the WhatsApp number on your website, if that's okay, because I don't have a normal phone here, if that's okay. And then maybe also that would be wonderful. I'd appreciate that so much. And if you think of anything else you want to add, but I'll send you a copy of this so you have it for your own records anyway.
Yeah. If you don't have an editor, we have an editor that can do it for you, but I would suggest that you edit it nicely. My English is not the best. And I would suggest that you use this to create this awareness as well as for the sake that you want to use it. It would be good to always just keep people on their toes worldwide about our nature. And I think it can bring a difference.
Thank you. I'll think about that, because I think I'm still doing all this research and I have a long project to do. I don't really have a platform, but thank you. I'll consider that, and I'll 100% send the video to you.
I'll send you everything we've got, and I bless you by saying, may God be gracious unto you, and may He be merciful unto you, and may He bless you.
Bye,
May He give you
Auntie.
wisdom, insight, and discernment, and may He use you as a tool to make a difference in lives as we do. God bless and thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Bolhuis. Bye-bye.